Well, now moving on, our next session for the day is a leaders' discussion on the topic, Unlocking the 5G Edge and Cloud Opportunity for Enterprise Growth. This session aims to discuss various possibilities for businesses to open a world of new avenues via 5G, edge computing, and moving to the cloud, and what is the state of adoption and challenges related to the same. Our speakers for this session are Dr. Christoph Falk-Gierlinger, Managing Director, Continental Engineering Services. The 49-year-old Managing Director of Conti Engineering Services joined Continental in 2021. He began his career in 1998 at Bosch, where he held various management positions in Vienna and Stuttgart. Joining him is Aditya Agarwal, 5G SME and Offering Lead, LTTS. Aditya is 5G SME and Technology Offering Lead with L&T Technology Services with expertise in private wireless, O-RAN network, dev and test, and MEC applications. Chairing the session is Supria Dhanda, Vice President and Country Manager, Western Digital. Supria is a business leader with more than 2 decades of corporate experience in leading technology companies as Western Digital, SanDisk, Alcatel, Lucent, and General Electric. She has held executive leadership roles in people and business functions and currently leads the business of growing ER&D footprint in India. Pleasure to have you here with us this afternoon, Supria. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Justin. Very excited to be here at the 13th edition of the NASSCOM Design and Engineering Summit. There is so much conversation on how we are evolving the deep tech research and innovation, and again, putting India at the frontier and maximizing the opportunities. One such opportunity for this session today that I intend to unlock with my awesome panelists here is unlock the 5G edge and cloud opportunity. Well, I know 5G needs no introduction. Edge and cloud opportunities need no introductions. You know, when we're looking at the world exploding around us, with excellent speed being promised, with low latency, there is this revolutionizing, new applications that are coming up. Each deployment that we talk about in the 5G world, we are looking at, a combination of layered with AI and edge computing. Well, that's the world that we are all living in. We are looking at maximizing it, looking at cloud as a scalable infrastructure. We are very quickly moving to an actual value driver. Well, I'm excited about this conversation with Christoph, from the Continental Engineering Services, and of course, Aditya from L&T Technology Services. What a joy to have them both here. Well, with your permission, should we get started?
Yes, please get started.
That would be great.
Yes.
Awesome. What a high energetic evening now. So Christoph, I'd love to start with you. The question is, clearly we are looking at 5G representing the next generation of mobile connectivity. And there is many more promises, like I said, increase in speed, eye-popping reduction in latencies, and a lot more. However, as we discuss the many opportunities, there's always this conversation about, are we realistically expecting what this is going to get unlocked? Are we kind of poorly setting expectations of around 5G and the associated topics of edge computing and cloud? So my question to you is, talk to us about what you see, what's your opinion, and what are the applications that you're experiencing at CES?
Yeah, I think, of course, I will have a little bit the automotive focus where we currently work very strongly in this area. So I would like to start with the first area, I would say, with the connectivity, connected car, so the classical V2X area, and where we currently see 4 areas. So it's on the one hand side, it's the vehicle-to-vehicle communication, it's the vehicle-to-network communication, vehicle-to-infrastructure, but also vehicle-to-pedestrian communication. And so we here see that, so typically when we look on an autonomous driving car, on the one hand side, we have a very short range where the car goes autonomous, but then we have the big advantage of being connected to the surrounding. So here we see applications for short range and long range applications. And for the short range, for example, we see the communication between the cars. So typical things, what we have is corporate driving. So as we call it also platooning, where cars drive in one line and then goes together. We see also topics where we can use different sensors, cameras together, so to have the complete surround view, that also the driver in the back can see what happens in the front. but also different algorithms like warning each other, like having information about pedestrians, what's happening in the surrounding. When we go to the long range, then we have then the integration more and more of cloud systems. So that means putting information to the cloud, informing then also others to that. And so, for example, we see big opportunities for analyzing road conditions, storing these road conditions in the cloud. So then also we know, for example, when we have black ice on the car, we can prepare the cars, for example. Then we also can use it for traffic jam exits, so avoiding traffic jams, also having algorithm with artificial intelligence to avoid this. And of course, typical applications is like intersection assists, roadworks, warnings, and so on. So that means on the one hand side, we have the close connection between the cars and the surrounding directly with 5G, and in addition using the clouds where we can have information from other systems, other cars, and then use for their own safety topics and so on.
Outstanding. What a world of, devices talking to each other, so much of data being generated. I mean, the whole world is looking at it very differently. I can't wait to get my hands on one autonomous car. Look forward to that world.
Yes, me too. So it will be a great time.
Absolutely. And Aditya, I'm sure you're with us too. The three of us, I think, driving and just enjoying a lot more than, worrying about.
I could take a nap in one of those cars, right? And not worry about driving. That would be my dream.
Yes, I think I'm going to be a little bit of a laggard on that one. But if I know Continental Engineering Services is behind, well, you got my word, Christoph, on that one.
Yes. So probably what we also do is we really detect if the people are not sleeping in the car for the moment, because the systems are not so safe for the moment. And nevertheless, also we check if the people are not wearing glasses with eyes on it, so to be sure that the people are still alive and still not sleeping.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that word of caution. So Aditya, continuing the exciting conversation, there is a lot more to technology, but there is also this world that says, what is the business of technology? So every time you're looking at, there is always this, uncertainty for industry professionals, which is, what's the strength of the business case? What are the underlying economics? And what are the other commercial considerations that we need to look at? So the question to you is, when you're, at L&T Technology Services, when you're looking at technologies like 5G, edge, and cloud, and you're looking at these technologies powering in, your new products and services, how do you make those decisions to say, how do you integrate? What exactly are the customers willing to pay? So give us a little bit of a preview into what happens in your world.
Yeah, so just by way of quick introduction, L&T Technology Services is engineering-focused service provider, and we focus on the intersection on OT technologies largely, and including on the the transportation segment with autonomy and so on and so forth, but also networking. And these two worlds are coming together, and this is this is an exciting new era, like you said, Supria. So we are trying to always make a business case for our customers and help them with best practices and best implementation methods, but not only to replace what has been done before using a new technology, because if all you're doing is what has been already done before but using new technology, well, really that isn't very exciting, because you're not adding a lot of new functionality. But like Christoph just said, it's not just about driving your car the same way, except the machine is doing it. You have new capabilities that are brought into the picture. There's platooning, for example, so you can actually have more efficiencies on the road. You can have a network connected ecosystem. I mean, cars have been driven for the last almost 100 years with no need for a network. I mean, you and I don't need a network when we drive a car, right? But now, by adding a network, you add more functionality, you add more features. And I think that's the crux of the matter. That is what makes or breaks a business case at the end of the day. So if we don't have new things that the technology can enable, it's just doing the old things in a new way or even a more efficient way. That's really never enough, actually. And so when we talk about cloud and edge, I think the baseline is you got to be able to do what you did before, but you got to add a lot more value to it. And this example that Christoph just mentioned is perfect in that. And in the case of the edge, it's like this analogy that some of my professors gave me a long time ago. The world comes back to what it was. You always have this client computing, cloud computing, client computing, cloud computing. We've seen this many, many times. But every time you do this, it's not just a flip-flop. It's actually moving the needle up like to a different level. So with the new edge, you get this low latency, and that unlocks a whole set of applications. That's where the business case really comes from. And we can get into more detail as we go through this conversation, but that's the fundamental here for us.
Awesome. I love your passion with saying, let's just not replace. It's like the old classic ways of automation. Instead of manual, let's automate. You're saying when you infuse the technology, when you integrate, then what's the value? And I think brilliant. Yes. Lovely. Customers would love L&T for that one, for sure. Aditya, Christoph, coming to you, there is this, when you're looking at the emergence of the edge cloud, you're, perhaps looking at this entire center of gravity kind of shift away from the public cloud. At least that's what the assumptions and the conversation is around. And then, of course, is providing many opportunities for cloud providers, communication service providers, and enterprises. So how is it that, when you're looking at the company CES, how are you looking at development of, the edge applications, and then looking at integrating, operating, the cloud native architecture? So just give us a preview into how you're developing and how you're at the helm of this.
Yeah, I think as we already heard, it's really like doing things different than what we did before. So it starts already at the beginning, I would say at the idea, at the architecture, how we develop things. It's completely in a different way. So it's not just using how we did it before and then making some additional control units. It's really that we start with the design, that we say, okay, the system is now in a completely different way designed. So we integrate already from the beginning of the design phase, these new architectures, these new cloud topics. And so this brings us also to different new use cases. Also, I would say what is very interesting in this transformation that also the people have to think in a different way. So we have to train them to go in this direction, and to not just to concentrate on a small solution, but really to have this global vision concerning this implementation. I think what comes hand in hand with this, and this is something where we have big topics currently in this all this, I would say, connected area, is also the area of cybersecurity, for example. So we are not just alone. We are always connected, and it's a very strong requirement also in the automotive area to have cybersecurity always safe. So, for example, driving a car, and then when you have the possibility to manipulate something, then it's very, very dangerous. And so this is also a big requirement, what comes very closely together with this new approach of designing things. And so people have to think very different, have to take care of about much more things than before, and it becomes very complex for the moment. And this is where we have to bring the people to, and what we have to train them.
Very well said, that this is a complete mindset shift. Now you're designing, keeping these end things in mind, and these are not tinkering around the value chain. So Christoph, I'm just going to stay with you a little longer to say, could you give us a real-time example, a small anecdote or some example to say how this has been done? It's like a mindset shift, training people differently, think big right from the beginning. Is there anything that comes to your mind that you could share with?
So for example, at Continental, we developed a so-called Continental automotive edge system. So it works together with the Amazon cloud system. And in the past, we never had this. So in the past, we just had, I would say, some software telematic boxes. We had some databases behind it, and we just probably made some applications on that. And with that, we developed a complete new system how to develop things like this. So we developed a new development environment. And so it's no longer that's what we did before. So like we would say a very narrow way. It's with this new environment, we can make it, I would say, more standardized, so that for all the systems what we use, we do it in the same way. In the past, probably we did it in specific ways. And in addition, when all these design ways are included in this catch system. So a complete different way how to work, and
Awesome.
this is the way what we currently do.
Truly, truly, what you're describing is large-scale transformation, and wonderful.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Christoph. Aditya, coming to you, when we're looking at the entire world of data platform applications now, everything is in the cloud. Clearly, we're talking about an environment where information is shared real time. And, and completely, reimagining how the value is created. Now, there is this great building optimization product, Intelligent Building Experience Management System at LTTS. How do you kind of co-innovate within and outside, and you are continuously, generating value to your customers? Could you tell us more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So so what we have is just as background is an intelligent building management system. We call it IBEMS, and what it does is we continuously keep improving it, but it helps in managing buildings, and it's like a first step towards like smart cities, for example, or more sustainable environments. Sustainability is a big initiative within our company here, and so this is one part of the story there for us. And so what is core to it is there's the sensors, there's the system that connects the sensors together, there's the system that connects the hub to the network, and then there's the intelligence on top of it. So there's many components that have to come together in this case. And like Christoph rightly pointed out, security is a big aspect to it. And you can do a lot of things with cloud, but you can't just retrofit an old architecture. You have to think of it like, okay, so if I'm pumping all this data to the cloud so I can have the intelligence in it, does my threat surface increase here? And in most cases, the answer is yes, but from an unexpected source. It's not because the data is stored in the cloud is insecure, and that has been proven in the early days of cloud adoption. That was the biggest thing that people worried about. Okay, my data will be stolen from the cloud. But guess what? There are many more failure points before that. And so when we are designing an IBEMS or when we're designing any other solution, that whole end-to-end security has to be reimagined. And tying this into the edge, this is where another aspect of edge, which is sort of ignored to some extent, becomes super important. So the edge cloud is not just about latency. And I don't know, Christoph, if you agree with this in your application or not, but it's also about security. Because now what you're doing is you are actually taking that data and data that needs to be centrally, driven through an application in the cloud, you're pumping it to the cloud. But other sensitive data that you can process locally and you should process locally for low latency applications, we should process on the edge. You have local storage, you have local compute, and then you have local processing, so you're not actually increasing your threat surface as much. And I don't know, Supria, or I don't know, Christoph, if you guys agree with this, but that's sort of the philosophy that we are trying to follow as we do more on the edge, including in IBEMS, where we're trying to evolve it to store more and more data on the edge. And we have other applications where we're using edge platforms, Intel's edge platform, other edge platforms, which are publicly out there, and using those for edge compute. And that's, I think, one innovation that 5G has compared to even 4G for that matter, where mobile edge compute applications, there's a whole list of mobile edge compute applications using, whether it's factory or transportation or others, where we are really thinking there's a business case to be had actually for this. And I don't know if Christoph, you agree with the threat surface part of it, or that's your thing, or, Supria,
Yeah.
your comment.
I leave it to Christoph. Christoph, anything you want to add to this?
Yes, I see it exactly the same way. I think you're completely right, and there are so many new, I would say, applications possible, and but we just have to keep in mind the systems have to be designed in the right way, and we also, as you also said, security is a very important topic where we really have to take care about, and it's not just only security in the storage; it's also in the communication. And this is really a big issue. And yeah, I'm completely with you. I think there are many options and opportunities.
Absolutely. I think we just added one more thing to the book that says what keeps CEO awake at night. It's how efficiently my technology and development teams are making sure all the new frontiers are safe and secure. And I think we just added one more to that.
Yes,
That's a new book.
And I think it's something where it's a job that is, I think, really strongly coming up for the moment. So we hardly search for people that have experience in security, and I think it's for the moment really a problem to find these talents. I'm not sure if you have the same vision, Aditya.
I'm sure, yes. So, it's not going to be easy. Christoph, one quick question to you now. How are you looking at, implementing the edge and the cloud technologies within your development framework and, looking at entire customers being satisfied and being given new stuff?
Yeah, I think for this application, we have to look on different topics. On the one hand side, of course, it's the technology behind. So, for example, we talk in our system, we talk starting at the antenna. We have then control units where we have to, for example, support the 5G in different standards, because typically cars should drive all over the world. So we have the different standards what we have to fulfill. We have then, as I said, the security in different areas, so in the connection, but also within the control units. Then in the automotive, for example, we have also standards for software. So we also integrate software from different areas. So for example, here it's AUTOSAR, but also we talk more and more of over-the-air application, over-the-air flashing, for example, so that the software is downloaded over the air. Then we have different apps now what are coming up. Then we have databases, for example, where we what is also stored in the cloud, for example, roads databases. So that means you have many different new topics or disciplines that have to be discussed on the technical side. So we discuss with the customer, for example, in which country he wants to use the car, what kind of antenna do we need, does he wants to have the antenna in the window. So we have different technical requirements on that and so on. And on the other hand side, automotive is coming from a very mechanical area, and now we have the transformation to the software. This was the first step, coming from mechanical to the software, classical control units, very, I would say, isolated with some connections in the car. And now we go in the next step. So it goes more and more in the software direction. So we need now experts for this communication. We need experts for databases. We need experts for the cloud topics. We need different experts. Before, people were concentrated on engines, on controlling engines, on brakes. Now they're more and more concentrated on communication, on cybersecurity, and topics like this. And this has a complete different job profile, what we see. So, this I would say, slogan, what is very broad now in the world, that the automotive company become more and more a software company. It's partly the case, yes. Nevertheless, we still have to keep our competencies in driving a car, in also producing a car. But of course, more and more we go in the software area, and so we have a complete different, I would say, mindset, but also culture, what we are having now in the company. And this is a transformation what we have. And together then, when we come to our customer, that have typically then a new car in mind, that have new innovations in mind, then we have to bring these things together. On the one hand side, they have mechanical requirements, then we have more and more software ideas, electronics, and then we have to bring these requirements together. Of course, it's also an issue of finding the right communication for that.
Awesome. And your bet is on saying I'm specializing a lot, but I will continue to be called, I'm an automotive specialization.
Exactly.
Industry. I like the passion.
So you can extend your experience with that.
Yes, and we stay close to core competence, but we are obviously evolving and transforming, got the thread. Thank you so much, Christoph. We are pretty much, nearing the close of the session. Aditya, I would love to have your concluding comments on when we're looking at spending on cloud, there's this estimation that it's, set to surpass the enormous milestone of $1 trillion, but of course in a few years. So, but yet there are these groups of who think that this is going to be a cost-saving, one-time investment exercise. So what is going to be your advice for those companies who are looking at this cloud migration and, skilling and looking at structuring their companies differently? What would you say to them?
Yeah. So I remember a few years ago when I started in the data and the cloud migration journey, and I was talking to somebody at Google, and they said, we're just at the beginning. There's only 2 or 3% of the applications have moved to the cloud. This is a 10-year journey, 20-year journey, and this is going to happen. And I was just kind of learning at the time the value of this. And that has really come true, actually. I would say, I don't know, there may be estimates around 25% of applications that could be moved to the cloud are moved yet. So I think there's still a ways to go here. And, in fact, what I've seen is that the cost savings are there sometimes and sometimes not by moving to the cloud. But coming back to our original premise, I think the real value is not necessarily only in the cost saving. The real value is in the additional functionality, the additional, the manageability, the scalability, the business that you can get by going cloud, if not cloud native, but at least cloud enabled. And, the additional things that you can do and do them reliably and scalably. Yes, we had a Facebook outage yesterday, so not everything is always going to be perfect. But on the other hand, this is something that does bring a lot of value, which is why companies will continue to go there. There may be concerns about it. On the other hand, and that's not the only solution, it's not the only toolbox we have. Edge is the new toolbox that's getting added to this. So whether you can call it Edge Cloud or whatever, but that's another toolbox that's getting added to it. But just one more comment on Christoph's last thing, actually. So yes, the car companies are turning into software companies. The factories are turning into digital factories. The software companies are turning into banks. So, there's this whole mishmash. And how do you actually, live in this world or thrive in this world or do what you need to do? I think this is where the ecosystem becomes very important, right? So the ecosystem of, and I'll make a plug for ourselves here, the service providers who are bringing best practices across different technologies, across different industries, the industries themselves, so I think there's a lot of value in the ecosystem working together. And this is true whether it's for edge or for cloud or for connectivity, for 5G or for engineering, any of these things actually, because I think that's where we're seeing value getting created, right? When you have A plus B coming together, connectivity coming together with software coming together with cars, etc. Right? So this is the new world that we live in, right? Exciting new world.
So we have to be a multi-tool.
Yes, but nobody can be everything. So we have to work as an ecosystem is the message.
Awesome. Well, with that, we are coming to the end of the segment. I would say the session we could continue for many more hours and continue to unlock the various threads that are emerging. I hope you've enjoyed as much as I've enjoyed moderating it. Christoph, thank you so much for your presence, for amazing comments and insights. Aditya, thank you so much for your comments and insights. It's very difficult to conclude a session of this high energy and insights, but I will suffice by saying, there are identities that are confusing right now, like Aditya said. However, there are identities that are emerging, and there is a huge focus on staying close to core competence, as Christoph said. I think stay tuned. This is a world of huge agility, nimbleness, but a lot more transformation. And this is all a value game. I think if the companies can underwrite the value as to what new technology, when integrated, is going to bring to the business and therefore to the customers at the end, well, I would say a lot changes, but still that part remains the same, adding more value to the customers and therefore using the emerging technologies. Thank you so much. Justin, over to you. Thank you so much, my panelists.
Thank you very much, Supria, and thank you, Christoph.
Thank you. Thank you. It was great to talk with you.
Great
Thank
to
you.
talk with you.
Thank you, Supria, for so aptly summing up that session. Thank you once again. And to our speakers, Christoph and Aditya, for that very interesting discussion on the topic, unlocking the 5G edge and cloud opportunity for enterprise growth.